right, welcome back. This is Parenting Porcupines, episode 12. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Kasie Whitener. Jessica, tell us who you are, where you're at, and a little bit about your kids.
I'm Jessica. I'm in the upstate, and I've got two sons. One is in sixth grade, and the other is in third grade.
Melissa, what about you?
I am down here in the low country. I've got a kindergartner and a second grader, and my son is in fifth.
All right, rock out. I'm Kasie Whitener. I'm up in the Midlands, right in between Jessica and Melissa. And I've got a 12-year-old daughter. She is a middle schooler, except we're homeschooling her. And that's been a whole lot of fun, can I just tell you? But before we get into anything real personal and any of that, I just wanted to say that today's topic comes from one of our husbands. My husband has been binge watching Parenting Porcupines while he was away on business. I think he just missed me, but he's been watching all these episodes and catching up on them. And he said, "Hey, have you been talking about the current race for president? Have you been talking about the political candidates?" And I said, "Well, no, we don't really want the show to be about politics. We want the show to be about parenting, and the politics is just kind of like a side item." And he said, "Well, this is really relevant. And you guys, of course, are libertarian moms." So I said, "What if we talked about how we talk to our kids about the race as it's happening right now, the campaign as it's happening right now?" All three of us active in the Joe Jorgensen campaign, promoting the Libertarian Party candidate, a third party candidate. We talk about words like the duopoly and how the Republicans and the Democrats have rigged the game against anybody else that might be a contender. We've been talking about how do we get Joe Jorgensen on the stage to debate. But tonight we're going to talk about negative campaign ads and how do you explain them to your kids? Because I got to tell you, back from in the Democratic primary when the Tom Steyer ads were on and Tom Steyer was saying terrible things about the president on YouTube, every kid in my neighborhood was coming into our house going, "Is Tom Steyer right? Is Donald Trump a liar?" And I was like, So we named this episode Pants on Fire in honor of our Pants on Fire in chief. Okay, the flaming crotch of Donald Trump. Here we go. All right.
That's the last time I want to hear that, please.
Right? I feel like at some point I should probably cut that out. I'll cut that out of the recording.
No, don't.
All right, let's talk about this political ads. So right now we're in South Carolina, one of the most contentious races for the Senate. As it turns out, our two guys have raised more money than any other race in the nation for this particular, for the race for Senate. And so we know that Jamie Harrison, the Democratic challenger, has raised upwards of $50 million. And Lindsey Graham, the Republican incumbent, has about $28 million at last check. And the amount of money going into this race alone is staggering. That alone is just horrifying. But we also heard this week that the third and only other challenger in the race, the Constitution Party candidate, has withdrawn his candidacy by request. One of these parties has contacted this Constitution Party candidate and asked that candidate to withdraw so that he did not draw votes from another candidate. So since that's all conjecture and behind the scenes and blah, 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 we won't name any names as to who made that request. But I want to talk about this particular race and these negative ads because they're everywhere right now. Jessica, are your boys watching these ads? What do they think of the Jamie Harrison versus Lindsey Graham fight?
So, yeah, you can't help but see them. I keep Channel 4 on all day because
it's your NBC affiliate?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. I don't even think to mention that. But yes, it's the NBC affiliate. It's WYFF 4 here in Greenville. And because I love to watch the Today Show. And so I like to have it on because I like to hear what they're talking about while I'm working because I work from home. So with the kids being home doing e-learning, they're seeing that too. And I mean, these things are on throughout the day, but especially in the evening hours, like between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m., you cannot escape these ads. They are relentless. And so we keep that. That's the channel that we watch when the TV's on. And then, we watch the news in the evening and all that. So my kids have seen them, and they think they are equally as ridiculous as we do. So they, Jackson, who is the older of the two, he gets really, really annoyed with the mudslinging. He does not appreciate it at all. And he's actually made a remark that he has no respect for these guys. Like, how can I respect these guys when they don't show any respect to one another? And Caldwell's just like, why are these guys so mean? Like, why do they hate each other so much? So there's really no no benefit. Like, I mean, I'm sorry if a child can't understand what you're trying to do, they only see you being mean and they recognize that, like, you might be doing something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, and especially because we spend so much time talking to our kids about being kind and showing compassion and showing love. Like, our phrase in our house is speak with love. If what is about to come out of your mouth is not coming from a place of love, rethink that thing, right? So, Melissa, what about your kids? Do they pay attention to this stuff? Do you guys have broadcast TV? Are you watching these things? Do you see them all the time?
We don't watch like regular TV. We have cable, but my kids watch Nickelodeon, and they're not advertising, thank God, yet on Nickelodeon.
They can't vote because the nice thing about Nickelodeon is, like, there's clear audience here who cannot vote, right?
Yeah. So we're safe on
that.
Nickelodeon. And we watch all the TV on Hulu, so there's no ads.
Right.
But I do watch, I like TLC, and I use their app. And they bunch all the commercials, and there's 6 at a time, and it's Lindsey Graham, Joe Cunningham, Lindsey Graham, Jamie Harrison, Sandy Sen, whoever's running against Joe Cunningham, I forget her name, Nancy Mace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 16 minutes of political ads, and it makes me crazy. My kids have no idea, though. They don't care what I'm watching.
Yeah, so Holly came downstairs earlier while we watch the NBC Nightly News, and we watch the local NBC affiliate, and then we watch Jeopardy. That's sort of our, like, 90 minutes of local TV, and then we'll flip to something on Netflix, or we'll put on a show. We've been binge watching The West Wing because we're political nerds that way, and we love Aaron Sorkin. And we heart you, Aaron Sorkin, if you're watching and listening. So she came down and she's sitting there and she's talking to me while these ads are coming on. And we were talking about Reason.com did a great spoof of these ads, right? Where they talk about how they change the color and they make them look very angry. And Lindsey Graham doesn't always look very angry. But if you watch these Jamie Harrison ads, you would think that Lindsey Graham is like the old man on the front lawn shaking his angry fist, right? He's actually a relatively calm guy. He doesn't really get that nasty very often, right? And then the other side is the Jamie Harrison, the negative ads against Jamie Harrison that are comparing him, calling him a liberal, and really about how Nancy Pelosi is his best friend and all this kind of thing. Like, you hate Nancy, you'll also hate Jamie. And it's like, come on, by affiliation. These mean ads, they use them every election cycle, and they're not new. I mean, if we go back to Hamilton's period, they were writing terrible things about each other in advertisements. They were actually a lot meaner back then, right? Now we've got some laws around these ads where you'll see some ads that are, I have approved this message or whatever. The candidate themselves have to approve them or whatever. And so they've actually gotten a little nicer, but even still, they're mean, and they're mean because they work. And political ads continue to run, or campaigns continue to run them because they work. Why do they work? Why do the negative ads work? Jessica, would a negative ad change your mind about Jamie Harrison or about Lindsey Graham?
Well, no, because I think for myself.
What?
No.
What's that like?
But I will say, I think in the nation that we're in now, with society what it is, I'm not surprised that people do buy into that, because everybody is so divided and so polarized that it's like, if you're a Democrat and you see a Jamie Harrison commercial, like, you're going to believe that. Most of them. Some of you won't. If you're watching, some of you won't, just like some Republicans don't believe everything they see and hear. But let's face it, a lot of them do. And so it doesn't surprise me that people do buy into this. But no, I don't. The political ads don't change my mind, because I would prefer to look at what the the people have actually done in their careers, what they've accomplished, the way that they've lived their lives, the things that they've done in their communities, because I think that speaks more to me than an ad is ever going to. And that's something that we talk to our children about too, is that, you can be told, like, people will tell you things about other people, just like these ads about Lindsey Graham. Jamie Harrison's telling you things about Lindsey Graham, or Lindsey Graham's telling you things about Jamie Harrison. But you need to make your own mind up about who that person is and how that relationship with them, whatever it is, whether you're voting for them to be in public office or they're coming to your dinner party, how that relationship is going to benefit you, and how that's going to be a partnership, or if it's going to be a partnership.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Melissa, you had something to add to that?
Well, and with the ads, if they change people's minds, I don't think so much with the negative ads, because you have to consider the source. Like, when you're listening to someone say something, well, do you have something to gain by making me hate this person? Well, yeah, because you want my vote.
Right.
So it's like, hey, my ex-husband's going over there. He's a dork. Don't like him. Well, I'm his ex-wife. Of course I'm going to say that. You have to consider where your information's coming from. And you get that confirmation bias. So
I gotta say, if I had an ex-husband and he just called me a dork, I'd probably be okay with that. I like you keeping it nice and PG here, Melissa.
Yes.
Keep it nice and PG.
I'm glad somebody does.
Your ex-husband does. You bring up something important, though, I think, because we do, and I mentioned this before, the non-approved ads, right? There are ads that are being run by people who are trying to make Lindsey Graham look like a worse person than he really is, in the hopes that you'll vote for Jamie Harrison, and vice versa, trying to make Jamie Harrison look like a terrible person in the hopes that you'll vote for Lindsey Graham. And those groups hide behind these names, like Senate for Leadership or Leadership in the Senate.com, and these PACs, these political action committees, right? And these outside fundraising organizations that are funding these ads, and you don't hear, I'm Lindsey Graham and I approve this message, or I'm Jamie here. You don't hear the approval of the candidate, but the ad still has an impact. There was one by the Lincoln Project about Lindsey Graham that compared him to a parasite. Did you see this one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's awful. It's got all these like seething maggots in the beginning, and like all this sort of like biological imagery associated with just like nasty creatures. And then it talks about being a parasite. And it basically then says that Lindsey Graham is a parasite, that he will attach himself to whoever is going to win. Now, we know that Lindsey Graham originally did not like President Trump. He said terrible things about Donald Trump when they were campaigning. And then he switched sides. He came under the party tent and whatever. And this happens in every election where politicians are, at each other's throats, and then they will, try to make bygones be bygones or whatever. So this goes to our last question. Yeah, that's right. This goes to the third question there, is do the ends justify the means? And we're going to get to that in just a second. But real quick on this non-approved ads, what level of control or response should a candidate have to that kind of advertising? I mean, should I be allowed to say, I don't want that ad running in my state? Mm-hmm. It's not okay, right? And then can I prevent them? Because really the media is just going to sell the commercials. They don't care who they're selling the commercials to. They're trying to make money on those commercials. So the Lincoln Project can write whatever. If they had chosen Lindsey Graham over Jamie Harrison, they could have said terrible things about Jamie Harrison. What's to stop these third-party groups from driving that negative, filthy, mean-spirited message into our communities? They don't have any skin in our game, right? Like they're not South Carolinians. They don't represent us. They don't know us. And I think that's probably more than anything, that Parasite commercial made Charlie and I both go like, what? When the first time Holly saw it and we watched it, she was like, is that true? And I was like, let's be clear about what we're seeing here. This is hyperbole. It's a dramatization. It's meant to make us feel ugly things about another human being.
Yeah.
How can it be true? Right? How can that kind of demonization actually be true? I'm surprised you haven't seen that Parasite commercial.
I have not. Where did it air? Where did you see it? Was it on
We've been seeing it on our NBC affiliate. Yeah.
Huh.
We've been seeing it. And that's where we were seeing it a good bit. You'll find, like I said, it's the Lincoln Project. And I don't know who funds the Lincoln Project, but they're just mean. I mean, they're just straight up mean. If you go to their Twitter account, you see what they're saying about, it's just hateful.
I got banned from Twitter.
What?
Twitter suspended my account yesterday.
I wonder if I did too, because I tried to send a tweet today and it wouldn't go.
What?
Yeah, they've banned this week. They've banned a whole lot of libertarian accounts.
What?
They banned mine. I don't ever get on Twitter because everybody gets on my nerves. Like,
Yeah.
The only reason I'm on there is
my
for
Facebook use too.
I was on there on Tuesday for my chat, but I tried to send a tweet today and it wouldn't let me. I wonder about that. All right, I have to look into that.
Sorry.
All right, so let's go back to this question because we're talking about our kids, right? So do the ends justify the means? What do you think, Melissa? How do you explain that?
I don't think it does, because if you can't make the case without dragging other people through the mud, you've got a pretty weak case. So you can win, but if you don't have integrity, how do you look yourself in the mirror? Hey, I won, but I'm a douche.
How are you going to govern? How are you going to govern if that's who you are, right?
Yeah, who can believe anything you say if
Yeah.
How can you be trusted to represent us and to do what's right for us when we just saw you saying terrible things about another person?
Well, I don't behave that way, and I don't want anybody who represents me to behave that way, right? Like, why would you?
Yeah.
It's beyond me. I mean, obviously I don't think that the ends justify the means either. And I think that goes back to having the conversations with our children about, and I think I've mentioned this before, you can't control how people treat you, but you can control how you react to it, right? And most times, how you react to a situation, how you react to how other people treat you speaks much more to your character than what they're saying speaks to your character. And so, I think I would have a lot more respect for a candidate who says, you know what, I'm going to rise above this. I'm not going to engage in this. And they focus on, these are the things that we need to focus on. These are the things that we need to be doing, like Joe does. I mean, I think she does an amazing job of, now she will call a spade a spade. If something's going on, she will say, that's not right, he's wrong, or whatever. But she focuses on, this is what we need to do, and this is how we can do it, and this is how it benefits you. And I think those are the conversations that we need to be having. And I think when we talk about those ads in our house, we talk about also, how would that make you feel if somebody was talking about you that way, especially if those things maybe weren't necessarily true. Now, some of it might be true in some way. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that because I think about, so there is one Jamie Harrison ad where he says, they've been saying a lot of bad things about me. So let me come clean. Yes, I did lobby. This is what I did, right? Yes, I am, closely connected with these other Democratic leaders, but I'm here because I want to serve my state. I want to serve South Carolina. Does that change my mind? Maybe a little bit, maybe because he addresses specifically the charges that are laid against him. And so I kind of like that. There seems to be some transparency there. But I also know that transparency is what he has going for him because he's never been elected, right?
Yeah,
so he can be transparent. Yeah, like he's never had to justify a voting record. He's never had to say, I did this because I was given this other thing in return, right? Mm-hmm. We also know that there's seniority in the senatorial hierarchy. And so Lindsey Graham's been there for a while. He's got seniority. He's got some power. He's got some pull in the Senate. And that's the reason he's being targeted, right? We know that. And so there's a little bit of skepticism there, but the kids don't get that, right? Like all Holly gets is like, these people are being mean. They're saying mean things. Why would you support anybody who would say a mean thing about somebody else? And I agree. I think when we start to say that the ends justify the means, we're also saying it's okay to cheat on a test. It's okay to put other people down to make yourself feel big. It's okay to lie about something as long as you get away with it, right? It's okay to lie to me as so that you won't get punished, right? It's okay to do whatever you have to do to get an A. If that means, plagiarizing, turning in somebody else's material. And all of those things are dishonest things and dishonest behavior. And the negative ads, I think, to me, they just reek of dishonesty.
Yeah.
Even if it's a spin or it's a version of the truth or it's a, yeah.
I love that. Oh, this person, I don't know any specifics now, but this person voted against wheelchairs for grandma. Yep, but there was also, we're going to kick puppies in the same bill. I voted against kicking puppies.
Right.
But you only point out I voted, against getting grandma medical equipment.
Oh, I love the accusation that federal level healthcare is going to run our rural state-run hospitals out, right? Like, no, the reason we don't have more hospitals is a state problem. It's a certificate of need problem. And we need to handle that in our state. That's got nothing to do with federal healthcare. But we're going to put rural healthcare facility. How many rural healthcare facilities do we even have? The certificate of need law has made that impossible, right? So that's not even a thing when you say that. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. And the half truths, I think, are they're
slimy is what they are.
Yeah. And I don't want to call it marketing because even I have students who are good people who are, who are marketing majors, and I don't even want to call it marketing, but they use specific words in a specific order to get a specific response from a particular voter. And I think what I talk to Holly about a lot, especially with the YouTube ads, I'm like, they're not talking to you. You can't vote. You are not the audience for this ad. And I think that's probably the most important lesson, is to talk to her about who is the audience for this advertising. And not just in political ads, but all advertising. Who is the audience and what are they trying to get you to do? And why are they giving you the features and benefits of this product? What is it going to do to benefit them? We talk about that with the YouTubers that she watches. Like, if they're promoting a particular thing, why are they promoting it? And what's in it for them? Are they getting is there a code I need to use to buy this thing so that person gets recognition for having sold it? Because if that's the case and we're only buying it because this guy promoted it, then let's make sure he gets credit for having promoted it, right? And at the same time, I'm like, is this for you? Because I don't think it's for you. And the political ads are that way too. I think that's probably the most important lesson we can teach our children, is who's the audience for the message. Because if they're not in the audience, if they're not the target audience, they should be able to objectively see that message for what it is. It's meant to convince people one way or the other. Except Jessica, who can't be convinced.
Okay.
They're not aimed at you, Jessica.
Nope. Nor my children.
Well, we're soccer mom demographic, though. What are the ads that are out there right now that are aimed at our soccer mom demographic? I mean, none of us are actual soccer moms, but I mean, we're in that late 30s, mid 40s, we're in that age group. We're all living in the suburbs. We all have children in youth sports of some kind. What are the ads that are aimed at us?
I don't know if they're aimed at soccer moms in particular, but I think the most effective ads I've seen from these two guys are Jamie Harrison. I think they're paid for by his campaign, but they're the ones that are just normal people saying, I voted for Lindsey Graham for 20 years or however long he's been there, but he's lost his mind, and they're just very calm. And this year I'm voting for the Democrat. I think those strike me as the most effective ads, because they're not mudslinging. They're just, I'm a person. I'm changing my vote.
Jamie Harrison has an ad where he's walking through a neighborhood waving at neighbors, and Black people and white people are living side by side, right? And then there's children that draw his name in chalk on the sidewalk.
Oh.
I mean, these are aimed at us. Like these ads are straight up aimed at us. Well, not us because we're libertarians, but I mean,
honestly, I think that
Our neighbor. Yeah.
I think that I'm like the worst person to have this conversation with, probably. Because I'm going to be honest, as soon as I hear one of those men's voices, shut down.
well, here, let me ask you this though, then Jessica, because we watched this ad together in Orlando back in July. Don't you remember the Trump campaign ad about defunding the police?
That one really pissed me off.
Oh my God.
the
Melissa,
one-
Jessica and I about came out of our skin
I was
over this
about to
ad.
start, like, I was going to trash our hotel room. I thought I was so pissed.
It was so bad. It was so awful. This is
It was the
really like
one.
right as
It's the
had
one with
Biden
the
even
call.
been named the nominee at this point?
I don't
Like I
think
can't remember
so.
if he was the nominee at that
I
point.
don't think
But it
so,
was
because when we had our convention, they had not done anything. Like they didn't even know if they were going to have conventions.
That's right. That's right. So this is before Biden was even the nominee. So President Trump is already running for re-election. It's the beginning of July. We're in Orlando. And so this is the Orlando audience. That's who they're showing it to, right? And it has this phone ringing and the person, the answering machine picks up. It's like an old-timey answering machine. And it says, thank you for calling 911. It's an answering machine. Your call cannot be received right now because of defunded police. Our police have been defunded. And it goes, if you've been raped, press 1.
I
If you're
remember
reporting,
this. Yes, I saw that commercial.
I was like, oh my God, really? What are we watching right now?
Then it was like, please expect wait times of 1 week or something.
Yes.
And I was like, no.
Just no all across the board. This is fear mongering.
That, I'm sorry. If you're watching this and you bought into that commercial,
Bless your heart.
bless.
Like just bless your heart. Look, here's the thing. It's fear mongering. And those fear mongering ads are just as bad as the negative attack ads. The minute they start making you afraid of another candidate, afraid of another political party, here's the terrible things that are going to happen if you elect the Democrats. Rah, rah, rah. All of
We're going to push Grammy over the cliff in her wheelchair. I remember that ad. That was probably from 10 years ago.
Well, and remember, there's the what was the anti-Obama care ads that were all about the death panel that was going to decide who was allowed to live and who was going to die.
Yeah, I remember that.
Honestly, after COVID, don't you feel like maybe that could have been a more effective strategy? We gave up the death committees, but really, at some point, we could have used them. I'm just going to put that out there. We're in a pandemic, people. Have a sense of humor. All right. We're at 27 minutes. We're headed toward thankfully the end of our half hour on this negative campaign ads. Let's go one more round. Like everybody say, like what's the biggest lesson you think you can teach your kid about these ads? What's the thing that you think if your kid comes to you and is just like, man, I can't take it anymore. What do you do? What do you say? What's their strategy? How do they get out of this conversation? Read a book.
Shut off the stupid TV.
Yes.
Pick up a book, Holly. If you're watching, Holly, pick up a book. Okay.
My son's reading
If you need reading material, I'll send you Caldwell's biography. You can read it. It's 3 paragraphs. It's incredible.
Yes, on Hamilton. We looked at that last night. That was well done. It was really good stuff.
It's not even done yet. Still more to come. Anyway.
So the next episode we have coming up, our episode 13 is about immigrants. It's based on our Hamilton conversation. Immigrants, we get the job done. And I think shortly thereafter, we should revive this sort of campaign relevant conversation and talk about how do we address this concept of the duopoly with our kids. Early on in Parenting Porcupines, we talked about the Scholastic magazine that showed up at Holly's class in 2016 and how Gary Johnson wasn't featured on it, and she got very frustrated by it. And so I think there's this concept that the duopoly is a part of absolutely everything, and it's even part of our political education. It's part of educating our kids about politics and educating our kids about how the system works. They've infiltrated everything. So next episode is about immigrants, but the episode after that, I think, will be about the duopoly and this campaign conversation you can have with your kids. Anything else to add before we sign off?
I don't think I have anything. So make sure you check out our website, like us on Facebook.
Comment, share, subscribe. Be
All
good YouTube
Push all the
followers.
buttons. Yeah.
Yes,
And tell
do
your
all
friends.
the likings.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please tell your friends.
That's exactly right. Boozy Libertarian Moms signing off. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.